Hello, welcome back to Crystal Clear. I have a very special guest today, one of my dearest, I'm not going to say oldest Sarasota friends with me today, Miss Holly Skowronski.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Um, we were just chatting beforehand about where do we start?
Yeah,
I think
where
we
do we
start from the
start?
beginning. I was thinking like all of my people come from gyms.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I was like
That's
analyzing my
true.
life and I'm like, wow, I met a lot of people in gyms. I mean, yes, it was my job and my career before life now, but it's
Yep.
just funny. Even before that, I feel like my friends
Yeah.
all came from gyms,
I
and
mean, I think that was your passion for so long, and I'll never forget Jenny Voigt is the one who told me to come down to the gym. And I was like, okay, I'll go try these classes. And so I started doing your classes, and I remember you would make me do all these things I didn't want to do. And sometimes I would just be like internally mad at you,
yeah.
but not in like, I'd be like, oh gosh, like she'd come over and turn my treadmill up to like 10 miles an hour. And I'm like, these little legs can't run that
But they
fast.
did.
Yeah. But I think that, yeah, that's the way we met. But like then it blossomed into like a great friendship,
It
even though,
really did, just very
yeah,
organically, and I think that was the coolest part about my time there at that, managing that fitness center is, like, I saw the same people every day.
right.
So, it was actually cool. I did a presentation last week for a town hall, and I was talking about, like, it's really cool, like, I to put some of these kids through college now and, like, a
Yeah.
different aspect of my life being on the scholarship foundation
Right.
and seeing, like, Benny Soto go to med school,
Yep.
and, like, it's really cool to just to see those full circle relationships, but, yours has always been one that I really valued and held close to my heart. It happened organically. I remember
Hmm.
we used to run around the building.
Yes. And then we got in trouble
We got
for
in a
it.
lot of trouble
They're like,
running
you
around.
can't run around here. It wasn't the best neighborhood, to be
Yeah.
fair.
Yes.
But I think also like we had very stressful jobs, so it's such a nice outlet to have to go down there and just be like, okay, we get this hour to just kind of like, focus on ourselves and kind of take ourselves away from the chaos.
Right,
So
and I
it was
think that's how I
nice.
became close to many people is because you
Yeah.
come, like, kind of like the psychiatrist of the gym.
Yes.
You get
Oh,
down
I'm
and get to
sure.
talk to everyone and get them to let them vent about all their stuff,
Yep.
and I love it, and all the fun stuff that Matt mentioned, the Tough Enough contest,
Oh
like,
yeah.
and you were the winner, you
I
were the
was.
female
Yep.
winner. Hopefully
I
you still have your
was.
trophy.
I'm sure I have that trophy somewhere.
No, you probably don't, you're minimalist, you purged it.
Yeah, probably.
That's
I
okay.
can't help it.
I forgive you.
Yeah.
Um but, and I'm very thankful for our friendship, and again, it happened from, like, group situations and then closer with girls' nights, and I think me being with you on probably one of the most impactful days of my entire life when we,
Hmm.
went to Vegas on our girls' trip and literally landed in Vegas, got up to the met Holly, super excited, got up to the room, get a phone call, my nana passed away.
Yep.
And it was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
And but I still remember it, like, it's
Me
interesting
too.
because I
I mean,
figure
I feel like maybe that was like one of the first times that I was with someone when someone really close passed them, and I think I started crying with
Oh,
you, and
yeah.
I was like, I
Oh,
don't really know how to support you in this, but like I'm here for you, and what can I
right, and I feel like for
do?
me, that weekend and that bonding mo I mean, just having you there with me during that weekend and talking to my family, and so backstory, my nana was my grandmother who raised me. I'd seen her 3 weeks prior for my daughter's 3rd birthday party, and she knew I was going to Vegas. She gave me a card, she gave me some cash, she, like, gave me her little cocktail ring. She's like, "You gotta wear it, you go have so much fun with your
Oh,
girlfriends," and it was right around my birthday, and then she purposefully did not call me and tell me she wasn't feeling well because she knew I would not go on the trip and go see her. So,
mm,
I don't know, I feel like being there and having that stillness for me and being able to, like, look out at the Red Rock Mountains and have you and going around and doing all the fun Vegas things. I had never been there before, and I
right.
remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, Vegas is not fancy."
No,
Like
you think it is, but ooh, Vegas is not one of my favorite places. But that's
Oh,
just me.
no,
I
it's
think,
previous life Crystal could do
yeah,
Vegas. The Crystal today
I think
cannot.
everyone should experience it once and
Yeah.
see what they take from it. But I think we were just trying to keep you like not having fun because that was not the right word for it, but just like keep your mind off of it.
Well, you did,
And
and we had so much fun. Or the
yeah,
first Madame Tussauds or whatever it's
yeah,
called,
that's right.
the
With
the
Sharon.
wax museum. We had
Yeah,
so much fun, and I think that that's really I don't know, I feel like after that, we almost had, like, a soul-connected bond
right.
after that weekend, and, ironically enough, I think it was, what, the next year? like, almost to the day that your father passed away, and
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say.
s
I feel like we have similar upbringings, not exactly, but just where like maybe our childhoods weren't like storybook perfect,
Right,
but I was always like I was happy and so were
right,
you. So like
right,
I feel like even though we don't have that quintessential like perfect childhood, we both are very positive and happy people. Like we're not the people that are gonna sit and wallow in that it wasn't perfect or it wasn't this or it didn't look like this person's. Like I didn't live in the same house. I moved a lot when I was young.
yeah,
But I think that's also like where we bonded too, is just knowing that our past weren't perfect, but we were just both very positive, happy people.
right,
And we wouldn't let like things bring us down for too long
right.
because life does that.
Right, and I think a big component of that too is we always kind of found our healthy outlets, whether that was exercise or as kids you were a dancer and, I did gymnastics. So I think that we always kind of that stuff's therapy now that we
Yeah.
realize it. And now
Yeah.
I've gotten to the trauma world, I realize like dance and movement, exercise, it's all therapy. So I
Mhm.
think that that really helped us. And
Yeah.
and having that commonality with someone not necessarily living in, "Oh, this happened to me," and no, it's like, "Wow, well, this is my childhood, and that's cool. Yours was crazy too." Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's talk about that. I have a little bit
Yeah.
more empathy for you, and I'm glad that you're happy too.
Right. And it's
So
okay to have like times of sadness, obviously. We're not saying that.
right,
But
absolutely.
yeah, when my dad passed, like when you say, like I feel like my dad knew somewhere deep down that he wasn't well. Well, we all knew he wasn't well, but I think he knew that he was passing because he came to visit me like a year before and he'd never come to Florida to visit me before. So I feel like same thing as your nana didn't want you to know, like my dad didn't want me to know. And it was just kind of like, he passed in his favorite chair, just quietly, peacefully. And yeah, it was hard, but like he was out of pain, out of suffering. So for me, I was
Right,
like, you know,
right. It helps with the closure, and I think for me,
yeah.
knowing that she passed suddenly, and grief comes in waves, as we
Mhm.
know, and holidays are always still a little tough when I pull out the recipe book and things like that, but because hers was sudden and I didn't have to watch her suffer in a
Yes.
way, I feel like I'm very grateful for that at this point in time. I mean, our parents are getting older, and like watching people in our lives suffer is just, I feel like I carry more with that type of situation
Yes.
than I do with the sudden onset stuff. So it's kind of like I don't want to say blessing in disguise, but it kind of
Right.
was.
No, that's I do say that and like not I would love to have my father here, but you know, I don't want to watch him suffer, so I get
Right.
that.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, but current day, you are the owner of a beautiful modern soul boutique
Yes.
on St. Armand Circle, which
Yeah.
is, I think, 90% of my wardrobe is from
Yeah.
modern soul.
Yes, you've been a big supporter.
So
Um
tell us a little bit about that
so sometimes
and
I
that
still have
journey.
like pinch me moments. I think like Julia, my store manager, will always be like, "This is yours. Like, take a step back, take it in." But like, I think you're also a lot like me, where like I'm like a perfectionist too. So I'm always just like, instead of stepping back and taking things in, I'm always looking for ways to improve and be better. Um, but okay, so Modern Soul started. So I went through obviously, well, but obviously other people don't, that I went through infertility and it really did change me as a person. Um, okay. So like 5 years of infertility and kind of like having that dream and not getting what you want. Again, being a very happy, positive person. And I think when that dream ended and I just kind of was like, what can I do to make Holly happy? Like, I had spent 15 years with Bells and it was great and it led me to where I was, but like I had changed as a person and not in a bad way. I think infertility just kind of like took me down from my like life is great, everything works
Right.
out your way to just being like, this is reality. Sometimes you don't get what you want and you got to turn your life around and make, like again, I'm not going to sit and wallow in it. I'm gonna like turn my life around and make it into what I want it to look like. So that's kind of where Modern Soul was born. I'm not gonna say like I immediately said I want to start a boutique. Like I think I always knew in my heart I did, but I didn't really believe in myself yet.
Hmm.
So my husband was a big part of that. I have to say, like he's so entrepreneurial and he kept pushing me. I honestly went through like maybe I'll be a hairdresser, maybe I'll be a dental hygienist, maybe I'll be a nurse. I went through
Nursing school.
everything.
Everyone goes to nursing school.
Yeah. But, like, I have a giving heart, so I feel like
Right.
nursing would, like, fulfill, like,
Right.
a little part of me that, like
Hmm.
so it kept coming back to the boutique, kept coming back, and finally I'm like, "You know what? If if this person can do it, why can't I? I just kept like saying, if this person can do it, why can't I? And finally I was like, I can do it. I can do this. And I'm going to put 100% into it. And if it fails, it's not because of me. Like I'll put everything into it. So that's kind of where Modern Soul was born from. It was just kind of like a, not an escape, but like a change in my life and a change of me as a person and me needing
Mhm.
something bigger, something a little more fulfilling.
It was like the end of a chapter, the beginning of a new one.
Yeah.
Like you said, like I think that, well, I know that sometimes when we go through life in
Yeah.
a certain setting, you just have to shake that up and change it. And it's part, I mean, when you start to feel it in your heart, when you start to feel it in your body, your mind, your spirit, like everything, when you're not completely present, you owe it to yourself
Yeah.
almost to get up and change it up and switch something up, whether that's something as simple as a workout routine
Yeah.
or something as big as a career change. You know, it's
Hmm.
just, it's important to keep that spark and that flame going within yourself and
Right.
giving yourself some drive and something to believe in. And you know, being with you and being your friend through all of that was very hard. I remember going, you know, like feeling very helpless. I'll
Right.
never forget, and I'm gonna cry now. Never forget the day I walked into Modern Soul. And I'm like, it's your baby.
Yep.
Okay, I'm crying really bad now.
Don't.
Now we're both crying. Um,
It's okay.
but it was
Yeah.
because you worked so hard for it. I mean, you
Mhm.
worked hard for it all, but just to see that, like, final, like something. Yes,
Yes, that was
like, you had something
mine, that
tangible.
yeah,
You had something tangible behind all of the grit and all the determination and all the
right.
positivity because let's face it, I'm a positive person too, but sometimes at night, in the middle of the night, my head is still just spinning with all the shit. So
Yes.
having those outlets and that's something just to look forward to every day.
Yeah,
And
and that's what
I've
it was, just driving to
right.
work was, like, so fulfilling for me. I'm not gonna say, and anyone who's been through infertility will know, like, it doesn't replace that hole, but, like,
Right.
it does do a job of filling it, like, you're never gonna replace that, but I think that it's important to know that if your life doesn't look exactly as you planned it, it can still be great and it can still be wonderful. And that's what Modern Soul does for me. And when I hear women just tell me how much they love my store, and I think the biggest thing for me is I wanted it to be a place where women could come and just feel like they could be themselves. Where would they want to? Like you don't have to look like this person or this person. Like where would you like? Where would you feel good in? And that's kind of like where the name came from, right? So like I've always felt like an old soul kind of like in a
Mhm.
modern world, and I feel like these days is all, like, social media and kinda fake and kinda, like,
Yeah.
hustle bustle, and, like, I wanted Modern Soul to be a place where you came in, and it was kinda like that old kind of shopping
Mhm.
experience where you could
Authenticity.
yes,
Yeah.
where you can feel like you can be yourself, so yeah, so, like, it's a modern world and you can't escape it,
Right.
but you can still, like, come back to, like, who you are,
Mhm.
what you like, and not feel like you have to be somebody else.
Right.
So that's kind of like Modern Soul.
I
Like
love
people
it.
ask me about the name all the
I
time.
was
So I feel
actually gonna
like
ask you about
it's
how
a
did you find
good
out the name because I don't even know if
thing
I know
to
that
explain.
story, and I
Yeah.
love it.
I actually started writing a bunch of words down on paper that I liked
Mhm.
and, putting them together. And then you would look up and see if it was taken. And honestly, this sounds so cheesy when I tell people, but I dreamt about it. And I woke up and told Jason, I said Modern Soul. And he's like, I like it. And I was like, yeah, I do too.
You're talking to your intuitive, empathetic
R-
friend here, like, I believe
Yeah,
in those
I
dreams, like, you
know.
have to follow those dreams.
Yeah.
I love it.
But I really did, I dreamt about the name, and then we just kinda went with it from there, and then I kinda, like, said, "This is what it means," but yeah.
And so for me, talking intuitive crystal here, that's just more confirmation that this is like part of your journey. This was meant to happen
Yep.
because you were, I'm sure, in your own way, however you do, connecting to yourself and kind of praying over it, hoping everything goes well and, you know, whatever that looks like for you. And then it manifests, you know, and
Mhm.
when you're really least expecting it. Like that's what
Yeah.
kind of podcast popped into my head when I was taking a walk one day. I
Right.
was like, well, let's do a podcast.
Right. You have a lot to say, you have a lot that you can give to
Right.
people. I kinda say it through my clothing, through
Right.
my expression of Modern Soul. Um, but, having your own business is so rewarding, if I kinda knew what it felt like, I think I would have done it a long time ago. I know so many people are like, "How did you do it?" And you
You just have to
it's not like
take
I
the
wasn't
leap.
scared.
Right.
I was terrified. I was leaving a really good job, with really good pay and really good friends, and I was
Benefits
around
and all the
people all the
things to
time.
just go start fresh.
Yeah, and a lot of people around me were scared for me. Like they've told me since. They're like, "We were really, really scared for you." But, here we are almost 5 years later and it's very successful and I'm just kind of seeing where it goes from here, but yeah, it's been great.
I
It's been a
love it.
wild
And the
ride.
merchandise reflects all of this too. Like you have something literally for everyone, like from formal stuff, more in the holiday for that, but like your everyday wear and just it's a place fortunately and unfortunately, I can never go without spending quite a bit. So
Yeah.
so the girls know when I come in, I'm just gonna do a haul, but my new rule is every time I go home after doing a Holly haul, I have to purge my closet.
Yes.
So
And
that's
everyone
my
loves when you
rule.
purge your closet
And
because
everyone
we just all
loves.
come shop it.
Right.
So it's
So that
great.
I purge it to everyone else.
It's
So it's been
great.
perfect.
Yep.
I was never scared for you during that period of time. I knew you would rock it.
That's awesome.
I knew that you how much heart that you had for it, and I knew that you wanted something so bad to focus on and to really
Yes.
put your energy into. And that's the way I think of like managing your own business. People could look at it a few different ways. They could look at it as stressful, but you just have to really look at it as an energy exchange. So if you're putting good vibes and good positive energy into it,
That's
then
true.
that flow is going to come out and, money is energy. So it's
Yep.
like people don't think about, no, I need more, more, more. But it's like, finances are something that's meant to flow. So it's like it goes in and it comes out. It goes in and it comes out. I mean, we know that
Yes.
from our all the stuff that's automatically deducted from all of our our
Yeah.
checking accounts
No,
every
it's
month.
true.
So if you just continue to pour that positivity and that
Yep.
positive energy and that flair and a boost, and I know
Mhm.
you've had some really great solid ladies working for you, which I think is awesome.
Yes.
Some of my also my dear friends, and I love them. And then you've had kind of a rotation of a younger crew too. So you
Mhm.
get kind of like best of both worlds. And again, it's the same thing. Like you find what energy
Yeah.
works, you find what energy flows. And it's been
I
really
know.
fun to watch and
Yeah.
witness you navigate it all over the years.
Yeah, it's really fun when I kind of was thinking about this the other day and I was like, I wanted to create a very positive, great work experience for people. Listen, it's still work, it's still a job, but
Right.
like at the end of the day, and I always think of these young girls I have working for me and like they're gonna look back and be like, oh, remember that job I had, that boutique modern soul? And like I want it to be a good, positive experience that they always
Right.
remember. So we try and keep it like a very fun, positive place to work.
Right. And it's
So
light and airy and beautiful. So
yep.
if you're local to Sarasota or if you're not, you have to check it out. Modern Soul Boutique.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
beautiful.
I have so many great ladies now that I've been able to actually kind of like take a little step back. And now I feel like you've kind of led me, like the store is still important to me and it's still my focus, but now I'm kind of on this other journey where I'm just kind of like continually like trying to heal myself.
Yeah.
Um, I went to a lot of therapy and healed myself from infertility, but I feel
Right.
like there's still a lot of other work that I hadn't done.
Yeah.
So I feel like now I'm on like that journey and I'm just like more focused on myself and how I feel. Like before it was a store, 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 store.
Right.
And I kind of built it to what it is now. And now I can kind of just be like, okay, it's great. It's wonderful. Let it kind of do its thing. And then let's like go focus on Holly again.
Right, and I'm really proud of you for that, and it's definitely not as easy to do that when you have kids as it is when you have a store, so there's
Yes.
really blessings to that too,
Right.
and it's like, having that time for yourself and for your husband to,
Yes.
like you said, he's an entrepreneur and he's got a lot of cool stuff going on, and you still have the freedom to travel
Yeah.
and I'm really proud of you, and I'm really thankful that you've held space for me so much. I miss our bridge walks. We have to get back to those
We
now
do.
that
I know.
life's back in
It's
order
been
now.
a
I have more of
while.
a routine. But you really have been one of those people in my journey that have witnessed the raw, like ugly parts of it.
Hmm.
Like I'm pretty open about most of
Yeah.
it, but I mean there's been some really ugly parts, and we have our little tribe thread text, and it's
Hmm.
ladies, we put it together when we did my baby shower before COVID.
Yep.
And then you came in, you're like an honorary member
Yeah.
because it was the ladies planning the baby shower that I'm like,
Yep.
Holly needs to be in on this conversation. It was like our COVID chat.
Hmm.
That's what we all connected, and we've kind of kept up with that. It's been great because like some people chime in more than others. You could tell some weeks when we have downtime, some
Right.
people are more involved, but it's really cool. It's like we have one person in Texas and most are local, and it's been really helpful for me to have that like space holding safe place to be like, I can't believe blah, blah, blah happened
Right.
today. Like if I don't have my journal handy, or
Yeah.
if I don't want to call and bitch about something to Matt, or if I don't,
Yeah.
it's just like it's a great place to
Well,
just get out all the feels, and
yeah.
I think that's been a pivotal part of all of our journeys, and we don't even realize it as much.
We all need that. I mean, you need places that you feel safe to just kind of like I said, we are positive people, but there are times when it's okay to not be positive, you
Right,
know? And I think I've had to learn that along the way where I'm always like, I'm okay, it's okay, everything's okay.
right,
And sometimes it's not. And
right,
that's okay too.
right, and it's okay to
So
not be
to have
okay.
those people that will just sit and listen. Like sometimes people are just so quick to wanna give you, "You need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this," and it's like, just I say it to my husband sometimes, I'm like, "I just need you to listen to me, like, I don't need
Right,
you to fix it," 'cause men are fixers and they wanna
yeah,
fix it, but sometimes I'm like, "I just need you to listen," you
yeah.
know?
That's something I've had to learn in my journey because 'cause I'm a fixer.
Yeah,
Well, and I think part of that too, and I've realized about myself is I like to try to fix because sitting with people who are suffering makes me uncomfortable.
right, and a lot of people it does.
Right, and when we don't even realize it,
Yeah,
that's why we go to fix, and it's like, "Well, okay. So what part of me is uncomfortable right now?" And again, mine, I know goes back to childhood, like, it was hard to see people around me who were uncomfortable or suffering in some way, and I couldn't do anything about it, so I swore I always would, and,
yeah,
I think we make these, kind of like subconscious promises to ourselves when we're young, like, "I'm not gonna be that way, I'm not gonna," and then I know it caused me to really have to break free from a lot of that through my journey, because it was like I felt like I was getting to a place where I was kinda judging myself and others on what their progress was like or not like,
mhm,
and it's like, you can't do that, that's
right,
not fair, like, or personalizing. For me, I was a big personalizer.
yeah.
Like, we talk about this all the time, I feel like, on our thread. We can hold space for each other all the time, but Matt walks in the door and he has a bad day, and I'm like, "Oh, is it something I did? Is it something we
Right.
personalize other
Oh, yeah,
people's
yeah.
stuff, so that's been a really big, even if it's friends,
Yep,
for me personally learning not to personalize other people's stuff and just
yep.
sit with them and be still with them,
Yeah,
and I
it's a
think
hard thing to learn for
it's
sure.
so hard.
Yeah,
Like, so hard, especially, like, our parents.
yeah.
I feel like that's a big one. I feel like my relationship with my mom is a little unique now, but, I remember being a kid and, like, personalizing, like, "Oh, is it
Mhm.
something I did? Is it something I said?"
Yeah,
If it like, my nana was sad or if she, battled a little bit of depression,
you're
and
right.
but then I always wanted to fix that and, like, "Well, I
Yep,
should be happy,"
yep.
so it's an interesting journey for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely grew up with that too. I mean, I have a great mother who has been amazing. But she battles with that too, and I think I did too. And I think it's almost November will be a year that I took myself off all medications and just kind of said I was gonna just do this naturally. And I'm not saying that's for everyone, but for me, I just knew that I felt like the medications were making me even more sick than were helping me.
Right.
So that's been a wild ride too.
Right. So tell me about that a little bit if you're comfortable.
Yeah,
How was it? Like, did you have physical symptoms when you
yeah.
first, like,
Yeah,
kind
and
of
I've
walk me
honestly
through
had a
that?
lot of people reach out to me. I didn't know it was such a big thing that people really wanted to get themselves off of these, but it's scary too. I kind of probably didn't do it the exact way you're supposed to. I just had something happen where I was out of town and I didn't have them, and when I got back, I was like, that's it. I'm sick of relying on these. I was kind of spiraling, and I was like, I'm just gonna take myself off. So I did wean, but probably not how you should. And I had what they called brain zaps, which were really scary because they literally feels like a bolt of lightning through your body, but it's
Yeah.
in your brain. And that's just because your body's trying to produce that serotonin or whatever
Yeah.
it's giving you, the
Yeah.
whatever you're taking. So that was really hard. I mean, I would not sleep, but I
How
was like,
long
I'm
did those
already
last?
for
Do you
me, I wanna say
remember?
they lasted, at least, 3 weeks, maybe a month.
Oh, wow.
They kinda,
Mhm.
dwindled, but, they were
That's
there.
scary.
It was really
Like,
scary.
I think that would be something that would freak me out, like
Yeah.
brain
Well,
zaps.
when I first had them, because I tried to stop a time before, when I first had them, my I told my husband, I'm like, "I think something's wrong with me," and I told him what was happening. He's like, "Did you stop taking your meds?" He immediately knew,
Right.
and I was like, "Oh, yeah." So I started taking them because I didn't know that was a side effect, but then so I kinda knew it was coming because I had done it before. But the first time it was scary. I'm like, "Something's wrong with me. My whole side of my body is tingly. Something feels weird." Um, but I'm the kind of person, when I set my mind to something, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do it. So I had already set my mind to getting off of this medication, and I said, I'm gonna do it, and I did it. And I'm not gonna say it was easy, but I think almost a year later, I don't really think
Right.
about the
I
medication
can't believe
anymore.
it's almost been a
Yeah,
year.
it'll be a year in November.
That's awesome.
Yeah, September. So
And I know
almost.
that's been a journey because,
Mhm.
when you are taking medications and even though they are very helpful, but you're the one that taught me this and I didn't really even realize it because I've never taken anything other than the Adderall for the ADHD.
Mhm.
Um, that you're not feeling super sad or whatever, but you're also not feeling the good emotions either.
Right.
So what was that like transitioning into feeling
Yeah,
again?
I
Because I could
just felt
imagine that would
like
be and I'm like,
yeah.
sometimes I'm like, wow, that must be nice to not feel anything because I feel like I feel everything all the
Right.
time to
Well, and
like
I'm a
100.
feeler too. And I've been on medication throughout my life, but like little periods here and there, like,
Mhm.
oh, she's depressed, whatever, put her on. But this time, I think just because I was older and maybe a little more in touch with myself and my
Right,
feelings, I realized I was like, I'm like, I don't think I've cried in like months, like, but that's not normal.
right.
I don't feel anything. I was just kind of like blah going through life. And again, that's
Yeah,
not me either. Like, I was just
right.
kind of like, whatever, like, do this, do this. And my store was still fine, but I could tell my store was suffering because I
Mhm.
wasn't in it 100% because the
Right,
medication just kind of made me numb
right.
to everything, good, bad, anything. Just level head.
Yeah.
And
Which
that's
which
not
knowing you, I would have never thought that, and
right.
so that's just it. It's like, I would have never because you always seem, like, super upbeat
Yeah.
but I just from you sharing, and you're not the only person, we have another girlfriend that's kinda going through the same process right now, and it's really scary.
Yeah.
She's really confided in me about some things, and it's like, wow, it's like, just turning your brain off at night to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I've sent her some meditations and just kind of
Yep.
breathing techniques. And what were the big things for you, like the more natural things that you kind of
Mhm.
transitioned into to
Yeah.
for those people that are kind of trying to do this, whether it's assisted or
Yeah.
um
I mean, the one thing I think you guys like anyone needs to know like you can do it. Like you
right.
can live off these medications. Um but I'm so lucky that I have so many friends that are connected in this like all natural holistic world. So I'm very lucky in that I just am surrounded by people who believe in that
Right.
rather than pushing medication. So I had friends who just told me supplements I should be on. I just started
Right.
taking them. It's so many, I honestly can't remember, but it's
Right.
all about like your GABA,
Yep.
um, B vitamins,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff, just
Vitamin
kind of like
D and stuff like
boosting
that
that kind
too.
of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't honestly like now I don't even really take anything. I'm just kind of
Right.
like
Yeah.
all natural.
I'm kind of in that point too.
Yeah.
And when we did the brain scans, when Matt and I did the brain scans, Dr. Amen recommended the GABA for sleep. I had a
Yep.
serotonin, like for the PTSD, because I told him I was like, I'm not going to go on conventional medication for this period.
Right. Good for
Like,
you.
because I didn't even realize it was PTSD, but then I found out it was. I'm like, "Okay, I'm not doing it because I
Yep.
wanna do this, like, in my own way. I wanna know that I'm doing it. I'm
Yep.
just that person." Like, I wanna know I did it myself. I don't wanna cheat. I feel like
Yeah.
not that it's cheating to take meds. Believe
No,
me,
and
I
that's what
totally
I
understand.
always say that too when I talk about it. I'm
Right.
like, I'm not judging anyone that does because I
No.
did it. I just know for me
Right.
and how I feel off of it, how like I just feel alive again.
Right.
And so,
And you have to get to that point in your life where you feel like you're in a safe place to make those types of
yes.
transitions though too, and that's huge. And same with, Matt and I in the brain scans, but Dr. Amen, they actually did do a lot of it's like adaptogens, like the GABA for sleep. There was like a serotonin booster
Mhm.
and things like that just to kind of help me along. And I took those for a while and then I really after that kind of navigated more into adaptogens, like, I started because I had some stuff going on with my thyroid, like Hashimoto's, they
Mhm.
thought, and so I had started doing the acupuncture and just more but with that, I don't I think it's a combination of all of it. I use that as, like, my mindfulness meditation time because 'cause you're laying there, you can't move. You
Right.
might as well connect to your breath
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I think it was a combination of all of that,
Yeah.
and then I did this cell core parasite cleanse.
Mm.
And then
Oh, yeah, I remember you doing
Matt's
that
actually
actually.
finishing his, and it was like a 4-month protocol. But again, it's all natural herbs and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I never really felt I was kind of like hoping that I'd see some crazy stuff, but
Yeah.
I never
Nothing.
did. No.
Well, that's
No.
good. Listen, it's so I
The-
mean, like, we both try and be, like, as healthy and natural as we can be, but,
right.
the world we live in, it makes it hard, like, you can do your best,
Right.
but
I mean, but the point of that is like ask for options because there's options out there, even from your regular, Western medical
100%.
doctor.
Yeah.
Like you can ask for alternatives to things if you feel like certain medications are too harsh. And I see that
Yep.
a lot. I'm like whether it's blood pressures, especially I feel like the older you get, like you're taking, and it's like, do we know if all this stuff contradicts each other? Like it just
Yeah.
that's I think what scares me is like there's a side effect to everything And I think I rather just, I don't know,
Yeah, that's how
feel
I
it
am
out
now.
and try my
I
best,
always tell
but
my mom, I'm like, "You'd have to, like, hold me down and put a pill in my mouth."
good. Well, and that's just, and I'm proud of you for that because it takes
Yep.
courage
Yeah,
to
it's hard.
face it, and because it's hard to feel. Like,
Yes.
we live in a really scary world,
Yes.
and you really have to be at a place to be able to control your thoughts and understand that you're not your mind when you are having racing thoughts or
Mhm.
fears, or, and understanding how to regulate yourself and,
Yep.
take more mindfulness time, and it's
Yep.
hard, but it's a constant.
But it can be
But it's
done.
fun,
Yeah.
and I feel like when you do, and it's like the little wins, and I've really
Right.
been coaching this more lately, like, celebrate the little wins, whether it's,
100%.
"Wow, I cried today." Like, I
Yeah.
got upset and I cried today, but it was a good cry because I mean, let's face it, crying is just our parasympathetic nervous system trying to regulate itself, so that's a good thing. It's like, just
Yep.
let it out, and it's a good emotional thing, and I was with one of my empowerment clients, like, just celebrating the little wins, and I'm like, "You have to, like, look at the things you've done,
Right.
like, you've taken some stuff off your plate." Her thing was to be more intentional with her time, and it's like,
Yep.
"Okay, well, you narrowed down your hours of this thing that you were doing, which increased your availability to be more present with your kids," and, she's taking me through the list, and I'm like, "It's only been 2 weeks,
Right. Look what you
but
done.
look what you've done," and
Right.
she's like, "Wow," because I think people get on this journey, and I've definitely been this person on the journey. I have to do more, I have to do this, I have to
Yes,
do that,
that's
I
what I
have
was
to do
gonna say,
this, I have to do
especially with
that.
social media and, like, making you feel like
Yes.
everything. I've definitely, like, taken back from that and being a perfectionist and just saying, like, "No, everything you did today was enough.
Right, and
It was enough."
that has actually been one of the biggest things that I've tried to, like, unlock in my journey, is that perfectionism paradigm, and it comes
So
from
hard.
childhood, not being able to control things around me. It's a
Yep.
control thing, and so for me, surrendering, just
Yep.
trying to surrender to, "Okay, this is what it is,"
Yep.
and I think also having a 3-year-old that I call a three-nager, and 3 actual teenagers,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you can't control any of them.
Yep.
So you might as well, like, this morning, for example, I was a few minutes late, but that's okay, he
Yep.
took a little bit longer getting out the door, the crazy dog was barking at the paint, it's like
Yeah.
just surrendering and not getting worked up and not getting flustered about it, because prior me would have been like, "We need to go," and it would have gotten to me
Yeah.
where I ruin everyone else's day.
Right.
And it's like, why?
Yep.
Why do that to myself or anyone else? And it's just like, you know what? We'll get there when we get there.
Right.
We
Exactly,
just
it's
have to
fine.
surrender to the situation, and
Yep.
it is what it is. Michael Singer, he wrote a book called The Untethered Soul, which is really good. And the surrender experiment is another one. He talks about how he just, like, went off and lived in Mexico and surrendered to life, and all this stuff started manifesting for him. It was really
Love it.
intense, and I remember listening to that thinking, "There's no way. There's
Yeah.
absolutely no way."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I need to read that again," because I'm like, now I could relate
Right.
to a lot more of it, but just understanding in those moments when I feel myself getting flustered, like, "Okay, what can you let go of right now?" And for me, almost 90% of the time is some sort of kind of control over
Yep.
the situation.
Always.
Just I can't
Yep.
it is what it is. I can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Let's
That's funny
just
when you
roll
talk
with it.
about the guy who wrote the book, because that's, like, one of Jason and I, and because we don't have kids, we always, like, talk about what we can do
Mhm.
instead of what we are not doing, and that's
Right.
kinda like a change of your mind, like,
Absolutely.
and we don't say, this is what my therapist taught me, we don't say childless, we say child-free.
Yeah.
Um, so because childless is, like, what you don't have, but child-free is, like, a
You're
little more
free.
free.
Yeah, absolutely. I love
Um,
that.
so when you say, like, we wanna, like, maybe go live, we can retire early, so we might go live on a boat and just
Mhm.
kinda, like, surrender to that, like, that
Yeah.
life, and there's a lot of things I would have to let go of.
Can you just come back in
Um,
during hurricane season though,
yeah,
please?
oh, yeah, of course. Oh my gosh, who knows? And then we might hate it, who
I know.
knows? But,
I can
um,
so see you guys doing that.
I think that's one of the things, like, we always say, like, our marriage has, like, grown a lot just because we can just focus on us and
Right.
what we like and don't like, as
Right.
opposed to, like, having the someone else's
Yeah.
happiness to,
Oh, it's
um
huge.
even though we would love it if we had it, but this is
Right.
our life and this is what we do with it. So,
Exactly, and you have 2 beautiful doggies
we
too. You
do.
can't
We
forget
love
the guys.
them.
You're still parents.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. They are a lot of work.
They are a lot of
Let me
work.
tell you.
The only difference is you can kennel them, and kids you
Yeah.
really, well, I mean, you shouldn't. I guess you
Yeah.
technically could, but I don't recommend
I think ours would bust right out of there and yeah. No.
Yeah, and that's just the thing with Nilla, and that was a big deal because, I mean, Matt and I, for 3 days a week, we were child-free
Mhm.
before Brody, and that
Right.
was one of the biggest
That's true.
adjustments, and that's why I say, like, the stillness of COVID really allowed us that time to reevaluate, because
Yep.
I was really in my head a little bit when I was pregnant, like, how are we gonna even like, how is life gonna look after this?
Yeah.
And thank goodness, I don't
Yeah.
know, I feel like part witch, like something big's gotta happen for things to change. Well, something big happened and
Yep.
things changed,
And here
and
he
but it
is.
hasn't been easy.
Yep.
And even but we really have a good system. We talked about it in the podcast that we did of just I'm at 10% and knowing, like, communicating like that, like, because
Mhm.
we have to trade off. Like, you have to do the trade off and
I
ask
mean,
for help.
even we do that, Jason and
Yeah,
I. Like, I'm just not, and it's all about communication, you know?
right,
Like, I tell him all the time, like, "Tell me, communicate to me if you're working and you can't talk to me, because if I
right.
talk to you and, like, you're ignoring me, you know?" So, I mean, everything comes back to communication. But yeah, we're the same way. I mean,
Seriously, and I think we've all emotionally matured. I remember when you and Jason started dating. It's like
yeah.
like just understanding and adapting and emotionally maturing in our own ways, and that's just really the communication. Because I feel like generationally, we get stuck with some of our parents' patterns and things that we witnessed, and it's like, "No, we don't want that." So
Yep.
let's transform it into a different type of communication. Just let having a little boy now is like, it's okay to feel your feelings, especially as a little boy. Like,
Mhm.
it's not, boys don't cry. It's no,
Right.
like, I understand that so much more now than I ever did before. Even for
Yeah.
myself, I always tried to be tough girl.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just gonna be
'Cause you
tough and
had to be.
positive, and I'm just gonna
Yeah.
kick my ass in the gym and like adrenal fatigue and all the other things
Yep.
later. Like, like
Yeah.
I got it out the way I should, but I was, there were time periods I remember being really aggressive when I was younger.
Yeah. Well, I think
Um,
we're both very strong-headed, independent. Like, I was
right.
probably, I mean, I was a good kid, but I was definitely sassy and strong-headed,
Yeah.
strong-willed to my mom, but
Yes.
served me well later in life.
Right, it's good leadership skills,
Yeah.
and I think that when I think about Tatum, she's the
Yeah.
same way, and it's like, "Okay." And the only time she ever gets me is when she's, like, acting the most like me.
Like,
Like, it's
oh,
like when she's
100%.
in my
That's when
little
you're gonna
mirror, I'm
butt
like, "Alright,
heads.
I need to back away and let her be in her power right now," as long as and because she's not really disrespectful at all.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. I really,
No,
like,
she's a good girl.
knocking on wood here because I was not as sweet as she is when
Yep.
I was her age. She's actually on a cruise right now,
I know.
and I I
I
felt all the
know.
feels letting her go on this
I
cruise, I'm not
know.
gonna
I was
lie.
surprised when you said that, but
Well, and I think back to me being 13,
yeah.
and so that's probably the hardest part because I was boy crazy at 13.
Mhm.
I was because had a very different childhood that she did. I was, like, seeking love
And
and someone to pay
attention.
attention to me, and I just didn't know any better
Yeah.
that, but she's so not like that,
No.
thank God.
She's still in her sweet, yeah,
Oh my
sweet little
goodness.
girl.
I hope it lasts, and I think it will.
It will.
And we talk about all the things, and I
Yeah.
think that that's important too. And I could always talk about all the things to my
Yeah.
Nana too,
She's a good
but
girl.
it makes a difference when you're just like make it normalized to
Yeah.
them. Like you are feeling this kind of way, and it's
Yeah.
okay. And I have to find myself, not trying to be like, "What's wrong with you?" I just
Yep.
I let her be. I let her feel her feelings. I did a whole podcast on that, like letting them feel their feelings because
Yeah.
just because she's on a cruise, she's gonna come back, she's gonna be exhausted. So I need to have that in mind. Like she's not gonna
Right.
come back and be like, "Thank you, mom. It was the best trip ever. Oh my God." And which she
She's gonna be
probably
like, "Give me a
will.
minute, mom."
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like just and not even just her, just everyone, just letting people have their moments and knowing it's
Yep.
just okay to feel all the
Again,
feels.
yeah, just not taking it personal. It's not, yeah, it's not
Yeah,
personal.
I know. We make it that way though sometimes.
We do. It's hard not to.
It really is hard
Yeah.
not to. What else do we have going on, Hollers?
Oh
What's on
my
your to-do
goodness.
list for the rest of your year?
Rest of the year. I mean, I think I'm just kind of at this point where I'm really, like I said, I kind of have been able to take a step back, and I'm really into this mode where, like, I want to spend time with my family. Like, I'm very close with my mom. So
Mhm.
I'm like, the holidays coming up, like, I really want to, like, intentionally, I'm very close with my sisters. They both battled with things, and I'm so glad that we've all, like, kind of come back together and, like, have a good solid family. And then my nephew Ray Ray, who I love,
Yes.
and my nephew Blaze. So a lot of, like, intentional family time, I feel
Yeah,
like, is, like, really on my heart right now.
same.
Yeah, and I've
And
been
it's just
spending a lot of time with them when I can, because I just, my parents are my mom and my stepdad. I have a great, even though my father's passed, my stepdad has been in my family forever, and he's just, like, honestly, my friends would meet Ray and be like, "I want to marry someone like Ray." He's just like
yeah,
that
he's
good
such a
guy
sweet
who has been
guy.
such a good, solid guy in my life where I
Mhm.
didn't really have that. And they're getting older, and I want to just remember everything and just be with them. So,
I remember Tatum seeing your wedding picture, and she's just like, "Mom, both my dads can walk me."
yep,
I'm like, "They can." And
yep,
now she's like, "Well, can you walk me?" I'm like, "I mean, I could."
yeah,
Like, whoever you want, you can whoever you want to walk, you can walk you. But I will
100%.
never forget that. She was like, "Oh, Mom," because she loved that idea. She loved that,
Yep,
like, everyone could be included because it is a big deal, when you
yeah,
have a bonus dad, it's like I don't like to say step. We don't really say
I know.
stepdad.
Yeah,
We say, like, bonus or
yeah,
whatever just because I feel like sometimes
yeah,
adds a negative, but I love that he's been there for you and
yeah.
your mom's at gym and
And honestly, I just like I call him dad now because I think
right.
it was so hard for me when my dad was here because I'm like my dad is my dad and I love my dad. But Ray was, a big part of my life and so now I just call him dad.
I love
And
that.
that's okay.
I love
There's this
that.
Publix commercial. Have you seen it?
Oh,
Oh
no.
my gosh, you're going to cry.
Oh,
Yes, Publix always gets me with their commercials. It's like
the
she calls him
storytelling.
stepdad or she calls him by his name the whole time and then finally on her wedding day, he looks at her and says, "You
Okay,
look
I'm crying
beautiful."
already.
And she goes, "Thanks, dad." And they both start crying. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm
So
really
yeah, intentional family time is definitely where I'm at right now.
same, and I think that's part of, stepping back from the journey. I did a lot of deep, deep digging, kind of healing stuff over the past 2, 3 years, and now
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I feel like this is like the manifestation time. Like, I
Yeah.
just wanna let beautiful things flow in. I don't want anything to be forced. I just
Mm-hmm.
want just kind of allowing that energy to flow, like I
Yep.
was saying earlier, like, great things will come, work's going great, all the things that I'm doing are going great. That's
Yeah.
been something I've recently had to set some boundaries with myself, now that I'm teaching and training again in the mornings and then like early morning, which I would be working out anyway. So I
Right.
feel like for me it's great. I mean, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna rather
I mean,
not.
we always have to have exercise. You and I, like, it's
Yes.
like our
And we're
when I don't
if I'm
exercise, even if it's not hardcore,
right.
like I gotta always have it.
Right, and you're the only other person up at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh
Like
yeah,
like, I know if
bring
I'm
it.
up early, like, "Hi, Alex, what are you
Yeah.
doing?"
I've gotten a little better. Like I feel like now because I sleep in a little bit when I need to. Like today,
Yeah.
I went to bed at 8 o'clock last night, and it sounds so bad, but I did. And I slept all the way till almost 7 today, and I
That
was like,
sounds fantastic.
I
There's
needed
Zumba
it.
at all. That sounds
Yeah,
fantastic. I slept in all weekend. Matt and I usually get up and go for our early morning walk. We
yeah,
slept in all weekend.
yeah. If your body
Think
needs it, you got to do it.
right, and I'm getting used to doing that without self-sabotaging.
Right.
And that's the big thing. It's like spending this intentional family time and getting my workouts in and then getting my work done and then doing all the other things, but
Yep.
not having my in my mind like, oh, I should have done this, and I should have
Yep.
done that, or you did this, or you ate that pumpkin cookie, you need to plan your workout tomorrow. Like it's been so nice to be able to release some of those
Yes.
old patterns that I
I'm happy
really
for that for you.
oh, it
And
was
I think
so
also
bad.
people need to realize like when you do get your physical, mental health, all of that, like everything else kind of falls into place. I
It
feel
really
like when
does.
I am at my peak, like mentally, physically, health wise, like eating healthy, all that, my work goes so easy. Like
It
everything else
does.
just falls into place because you're just there.
Right.
Like
Well, you're
nothing is
present.
gonna,
You're
yeah.
really present in your body and your mind and in your spirit and you're connected. And I think that that's really been such a blessing is to, like to understand how to reconnect with my body, how to connect with community and my friends, and how
Mm-hmm.
to connect with family, and just being very intentional about that time and whatever that looks like for anyone. So if anyone's, wanting to start their journey or start something new, that would be probably the biggest thing I would stress is just take one little like micro
Yes.
healing. And I have a podcast coming up on that, a little micro healing things, but just take it one step
Yes.
one day at a time
Yep.
and just try to be present in all your moments.
Yep.
Like, I listened to a podcast and I feel like she inspired me to do one of my own about overwhelm. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like overwhelm has nothing to do with what actually needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's our thoughts and the
Right.
quality of our thoughts. It's
Yep.
because if you make a list, and she used this analogy of we have glass balls and we have plastic balls. And it's like, okay, so you're constantly jugging glass balls and plastic balls, like your glass balls, paying your bills,
Yep.
putting
Gotta do
gas
it.
in your car, like,
Yeah.
but what are the plastic balls? Um, like doing the laundry,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, sweeping the floor, maybe planning something ahead of time, just like what really matters
Right.
and how often do you really drop the glass balls? Hardly ever.
Right. You
But we
can't.
put so much pressure on ourselves when we get in these sense of overwhelm, we feel like everything's a glass ball.
Yep.
And so it's just really taking time to step back and be like, okay, what can I prioritize for myself? And that's something that I've really started working on for myself is like making my list. Like I have my calendar with all my stuff in it, but it's like then I have like my side list of what I want to get done that
Mhm.
day.
I always have list.
Yeah,
I'm a
I'm a
list
lister.
girl,
I'm a
and I gotta
lister.
write it down, I gotta
And I
check
have
it
like
off.
8 notebooks. I have a list notebook, I have this notebook, I have this notebook.
Yep.
But yeah, write it down, check it off. And you know what? And then I have stuff on the bottom that like I would like to get to it, but I don't have to get to it.
Yep.
And I started being really more intentional and realistic with myself about that stuff and allowing myself more time in between.
Yep.
And I found for me that's really key is allowing myself an adequate time.
Yep. You have
And
to.
if I am late, then that's when I'm late.
Right.
Like
I
like,
have a
stop.
hard time being late, but that's just me.
Right. But then if I'm
Um,
late, instead of being like, "Sorry, I'm late," be like, "Thank you for holding space for me because
right.
I took some extra time."
Yep.
So I'm working on not apologizing for
Yeah, that's
everything.
good.
That's huge for me
Yeah.
because I'm such an over apologizer.
Yeah.
And what really pointed it out to me is Brody being like, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." I'm like, "Why is
Oh,
he apologizing for
I
everything?"
know.
Because he hears me do it.
Yep.
And Tatum does it. And I'm like, "No,
We
no."
all do it. Yeah, I was talking to someone
Like,
about that the other day too, about saying sorry so much. I'm like, "Don't say
yeah.
sorry. It's okay."
Right, and I think I've had people in my life that never said sorry, so I'm
Yeah.
like, I want it, like, I
Overcompensate. Yeah.
overcompensate, but, I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me
Yeah. Thank you for
today, and
having me.
yes, and
I
sharing some
really,
of your story and your
of course.
vulnerability, and I think it's really gonna inspire some people to, you know, just do a self-evaluation, like,
Yeah.
how they're feeling, and you have a very inspiring story, and you've been very gracious to share that
Mhm.
with the world in a lot of different ways, and you continue to, and I love that
Yeah.
because you'll get on and you'll talk. Even on your, modern soul, be like, "Listen, it's been a day."
Yeah.
And I love that, and I think that exposing that raw authenticity that no one's perfect. It's okay to have a crappy day.
Yep.
It's okay to not be okay.
Yep.
And you're one of my best friends that does show that to the world
Yeah.
because you have that platform, and I think it's so important because like you said, you've had so many people reach out to you
Yes.
and
That's what I
ask
was gonna
you
say. Yeah.
right, like, you get a response from that, and
Yeah,
that's the
I mean,
whole
I
point of this
think I
podcast.
realized when I went through infertility, I know we have to wrap it up, but when I started sharing my story is when I started connecting with people that I needed. Like
Right,
I didn't share it to be like, "Oh, wow, I'm going through this." I shared it so that other people didn't feel alone and then realized that I was the one feeling alone and found people that made me not feel alone. So it's like
right,
when you are authentic and share your story, the right people will come into your life.
right.
And that's going to look different at all different stages of your life.
Mhm.
But um, yeah, so I don't really have my infertility page anymore, but if anyone takes anything from this and you're going through it, I'm open book. Like I will share everything with you, share space with you. And same with coming off of medication. Like those are probably two big things that have happened in my life that have really like shaped who I am.
Yeah, and I appreciate you being willing to share that with
Yeah.
us today because it's very inspirational, and we all have a journey, and it's really
Yes, we
beautiful.
do.
We do, sister.
And I'm very proud of you. And I think I
Oh,
gushed
thank
about you
you.
at, I don't know, the resilient retreat. And I was like, I
Oh,
just need to gush on her for a second, like, and just how proud I am of everything you've done. And
oh, thank you. And
yeah,
again, that was one of those situations I poured my heart out to someone, and it became the most beautiful full circle connection.
yep,
And now I'm in a position where I'm doing the community outreach and stuff like that for Bells. And I'm able to connect these people this week. Actually, I'm going to Pensacola to help this elementary school. It's an F school. The
it's
kids are
awesome.
all like really poverty stricken and like a lot of trauma stuff. Their teachers and their faculty, I've connected them to Resilient Retreat. So not
It's
only are
awesome.
we as a Bells company able to go in and
Yep,
really connect with the kids and help the kids and send them with shoes, and we're partnering with Derek Brooks Charities and Souls for Souls and making that full circle connection. But then on the back burner, I'm like, wow, these teachers who are working with these kids that have these trauma responses and these behavioral issues, they need support too. How can we
definitely.
support that? So it's like I feel like I'm at one of those
Yeah.
places in my life and I'm gonna cry. It's like it's just all happening the way it should. And I
Yep.
feel like I've just strategically been put, the universe has placed me in these little
Yeah.
areas to just really be able to make a bigger impact and share it. So maybe someone listening to this will know that they can, get help with with any of the things that we've shared,
Yep,
or maybe just take the first steps for themselves. So
100%.
I'm really grateful to have you on today, and I love you, and I
I
really
love you.
appreciate you always holding space for me.
Anytime.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you. Have a great day, guys.